I recently did a video where I talked about very inexpensive gear that was nearly essential to have in your kit. I'm of the opinion that less is often more, but more with less often translates to having what seems like a very expensive item, but speeds up your workflow and allows you to work more efficiently. Think about it. If you have a piece of gear that allows you to get better shots or more creative shots, then you might get higher paying clients. On the post-production side, if you had items that sped up your workflow and saved you hours and hours of time, then it probably would save you a lot of money. So expensive gear does not always mean something that's really expensive hurts your wallet and you're screwed forever, right? It might actually be an investment in yourself and your career and your own time. So today I'm gonna be talking about a few items that I was very hesitant to buy just because of the price tag associated with them, but ultimately proved to be a very good purchase because it allowed me to do better work and speed up my workflow. So let's get into it. We're gonna talk about expensive items that is worth every penny. All right, first item. I've seen a few videos of people talking about this item, and there's a reason. This is the Flowtech tripod. Basically, how this works is it has a single lever system. So all you gotta do is push one in, and it expands all the way out, and then back in. So you are able to deploy this thing in incredibly record time. I have done quite a few documentary shoots where we shot everything on tripods. It means that you have to react incredibly quickly, and this thing right here is the only reason that that was possible. If every single time you had to move with a character or change the height of your tripod and you had to unscrew 6 different things, 6 different legs, or even latch 6 different legs and then move it around, you just would have missed the shot. But with this tripod, the levers are right where you want them to be. They're right at your arm level, hand level, and it can just fly up and down like that. And you can get shots that you were not able to get before. Again, this is the Flowtech tripod from Sachtler. It's over $1,000. I've seen a few other camera manufacturers, Sirui being one of them, that have put out a tripod that has a similar mechanism as the Flowtech for quite a bit less money. So that might be a good route if the Sachtler is out of your price range. This is the Flowtech 75, worth every penny. Sticking with gear that allows you to get shots that you couldn't in any other way, it's every YouTuber's favorite piece of item, the gimbal. Now, the gimbal, in my opinion, is incredibly overused, but there's a reason for that. It allows you to get shots that are not possible for this amount of money, and weren't even possible less than a decade ago. I remember when I just started filming, I rented a Movi M5, one of the first usable gimbals on the market. I was doing a higher end shoot for Marriott hotels, and I wanted to get that extra sheen. By renting that item to create this beautiful motion allowed me to get higher and higher paying gigs from that same client and other clients as well. That was 7-8 years ago, and now gimbals are pretty ubiquitous, but they're still one of the only ways that you can get this type of shot outside of a Steadicam. For a few $100, you can buy a pretty nice gimbal. I have the RS3 Pro here. I like the Pro a lot because I often use a C70 on it, and it gives me obviously the extra clearance that the RS2 or other gimbal manufacturers do not allow. And so it is worth every single penny. But keeping with on-set production stuff, this is the SmallRig 450. It's not the SmallRig specifically that I think is worth every penny, though I do believe this one is. It is just having one great, really bright light. Having a single bright light allows you to do a lot of different things, no matter what scenario you find yourself in, whether you're battling with sunlight streaming in through a window or trying to light up an entire room. Having one really bright light will allow you to do that and actually control your lighting a little bit more than you would otherwise. And to go along with one really bright light, it's also nice to have one giant diffuser or softbox to go with it so that you can create different looks. I have the big aperture domes in order to get a big soft light for an interview or just to fill up a room for a doc shoot. The reason I got this one specifically is it actually has more power than the Aputure 600 for less than half the cost. So check out SmallRig. This is the 450D, and it is bright. Next on the list, we have the Aputure bulbs. This is the 8 bulb case, and these are just little light bulbs that you can replace in lamps and use as practicals either in your shot or just to enhance a practical light, for example. But what's nice about these is they can do a lot more than just that. They also are completely RGBW, so they can create any color in the spectrum, and so they're really useful for different effects as well. The music video for Arlo McKinley, for example, I just used one of these in the back seat and put on the police as he's driving around town, and it looked like he was being chased or followed by a police car. Also, in a recent documentary that I shot called King Cole, there's a shot of a girl looking at fireworks, but she wasn't there on the day that we actually shot the fireworks, and so we used these to fake fireworks by just holding a couple of these not too far from her face. She looked in the sky, it had the firework effect. So not cheap, you can buy them individually. So if you just wanted to test out one or two, they're not that expensive. But because they have been so useful in so many different situations, these bulbs have been worth every single penny and have enhanced my work and what I do. This next item, I wouldn't call super expensive. I think for what it does, it's actually fairly inexpensive because of the time it saves you. But these are the Tentacle sinks. You've probably seen these around. They're just little boxes that send time code and sync time code to all your different devices. So here we have the S1H, and the S1H does have a time code. You can just stick this sucker onto your rig, stick in the time code, and it will sync to whatever other Tentacle sinks are running at the time. For example, with your sound bag, you can just stick that onto your bag, run it into the 3.5, and suddenly these two cameras are synced with just a couple of these. And that saves you oodles and oodles of time in post-production. I shot a whole documentary where I had multiple cameras, multiple audio folks on a few days, and syncing that in post was awful and frankly impossible. If I would have had these, it would have saved me an insane amount of time. Therefore, these are worth every single penny. I use them on every shoot that I do that has multiple cameras or uses a separate sound recorder. So get 2, 3, 4 of these and you will thank yourself later. One other item that I don't have with me right now is the Tentacle Sync Track E. It actually functions very similar to like a Rode Wireless Go Pro 2 that can record into itself. It has a lavalier connector, so you can put a wireless lav onto it. So it can record to itself in 32-bit float, and it syncs to all your other devices. I've used these in situations where we've needed to mic 6, 7, or 8 people, and we're only running 4 or 5 regular wireless lavs. Stick a couple of these on there, it's synced to all your devices, synced to your recorder, synced to your cameras. The Tentacle Sync Track E, and then just the regular Tentacle Syncs are just 100% worth every penny. Speaking of post-production, once you've synced everything, you want to make sure that you actually can edit what you're doing. It's just not worth the pain and the hassle of having your post-production be bogged down by transfer speeds and drive speeds. So one of the best purchases are any small SSDs. I know the SanDisks have had some issues lately with some recalls, but I've never had any issues. And what I'll often do is I will take my footage, back it all up on a large RAID, and then I will put the stuff I'm editing at the moment on these drives. They're fast, they're quick, edits back smoothly. I'm really looking forward to whenever they have more affordable 8 terabyte SSDs, because I often find that 4 terabytes is not enough. So SSDs, worth the money. So last on this list is a bit of a new product, but gives new life to so many great cameras that is worth mentioning. So Canon a few years ago was one of the first to put out a rear ND adapter, which is basically just an adapter from EF to RF mounts that you could slide an ND filter in the back. And it was a variable ND that allowed you to go from 2 to 7 or 8 stops, which eliminated the need for front screw-on NDs or matte boxes, which are both often a pain in the butt. That ND filter wasn't great, but it definitely turned a switch for a lot of other manufacturers out there who started making versions of rear filter adapters, and they are awesome. The first, and probably the best and most expensive, is just Breakthrough filters. These are for PL mount, and they make different mounts to go onto a bunch of different cameras. What I love about these is not only the build quality, but also the ND filter that comes with it is just one of the most beautiful pieces of equipment. It's 1 to 11 stops, which is unbelievable. You don't have to think about anything. You can just take a lens off, stick a lens on, even the case that you carry it on. I mean, you could probably throw this thing around the room and the ND filter would be just fine. And then the other one I want to talk about, which is definitely quite a bit cheaper than the Breakthrough filters, is the MoPhage rear ND adapter. It has just a really nicely made wheel, good hard stops. This one has interchangeable mounts on the back, which the Breakthrough filters do not. You just buy a little E-mount adapter for $20 and suddenly you have your L mount can change into E mount or can change into RF mount. So if you have a PL mount lens like this Atlas Mercury here, you just stick it in there and you're good to go. You shoot, and now you have internal NDs on your Panasonic S1H. It makes life just so much easier, especially when you're changing lenses often or changing primes. I highly, highly recommend getting something like this. So this gear isn't essential. I mean, outside of the camera, a lens, and a microphone, no gear really is. But for me and the consistency that I work and the work that I do, this gear has helped speed up my workflow, and for me has been worth every single penny. So that's it for this video. All the links to these items are in the description below. So take a look and see if maybe they'll work for you, and we'll see you in the next one.